What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. I'm your boy NarikChase, and in this video we are going to be continuing our episodic journey of It. Welcome to Derry. Now we're going to be talking about episode 8, the finale of season 1. How does the story wrap up? And I gotta say, surprisingly interesting and kind of confusing ending. But still, it's very enjoyable and it leads to some very interesting questions. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, in the previous episode, we got to see a complete massacre. It was fire, chaos, people getting eaten, interesting revelations, and Pennywise decides to go ahead and take his 27-year-old nap. Unfortunately, due to the military's interference, he got woke up early. So, episode 8 starts off with this mysterious fog that's branching out over Derry. And at first I thought, oh, is this the mist or something? And then I was like, no, that's Pennywise is doing. You see people running in, it's kind of creepy. It's really, really cool. This is something I wish they kind of would have explored in the book a little bit more. Because he feels so contained and this fog just goes out and you're like, okay, this is going to be some interesting thing. He's going to be in the fog killing people. There's going to be blood and ass and juice and shit everywhere. Yeah, it doesn't go exactly like that, but yeah, everybody goes inside pretty much because it's kind of creepy. But we have a scene where we're at the school and no. I believe it was either in the last episode. Yeah, it was last episode where Pennywise ends up showing Will the deadlights. It was kind of a cool scene. He was like, "I'm not scared." I'm not scared of you. I can hear you. And he pops up behind him. I thought he was dead as hell, but he wasn't. So Pennywise is up going to the school, getting all the kids to come to this the gym. It's kind of nasty because he has the principal. I won't say president. He got the principal like a puppeteer a little bit, and then he just butchers his guys in front of the kids, and then he ends up showing them the deadlights. Now the scene kind of comes off as like a nightmarish uh, version of what Bob Gray had done his performance to the kids back in the Revelations, the episode where we go to see kind of how he adopts the Pennywise persona. And I thought that was actually pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. This is kind of the unleashing that we want to see with Pennywise because he feels so contained, yet he's so everywhere. So at this point, we have Lily, Ronnie, and Marge. They're together, and they don't know what Will is. Richie's dead. They see this mysterious fog out there. They know that the media shard that they have, they're going to attempt to use it to take out Pennywise. But they find out that the school is empty, nobody's there, there's a blood trail, and they end up deciding to go after it because at this point they're like, okay, they have to stop Pennywise from getting out. This is how they're going to do it by following them with the shard. And it's kind of cool. They get in the milk truck and Marge ends up driving it. I think they did see the driver, but he was pretty messed up. That was pretty funny. Then, uh, Pennywise is up to making house calls again. Everybody's making plans to leave, but at this point, Leroy and his wife don't know that Will's been kidnapped. So Leroy gets a phone call from Pennywise who says, "Hey, I kidnapped your son." So that was actually pretty cool. And the thing about Leroy, he has no fear, but the major weakness he has is his son. So it's actually another good moment where we see him fearing for his son. So at this point, Dick is is dealing with these ghosts that are haunting him because he locked them away in the box, and Pennywise ends up opening that box and kind of with the help of Leroy because Leroy was kind of forcing him to do it. Well, trying to talk him into doing it. So he's about to kill himself. Leroy manages to actually stop him. It's actually a pretty good scene between the characters, and you can see how it's interesting because when we see The Shining, we see the little boy and how he's dealing with these, and it's kind of cool seeing how that same thing happens to an older man. Now, whether this is because that's how overwhelming it is in general, or because he's locked that away and it's all just kind of crashing down on him in one massive wave. I'm not sure, but either way, good. It is pretty cool because we get to see that seeing ghosts and stuff isn't the best thing. So that he actually manages to get his help. Him, Dick, Leroy's wife, they go to Rose, and because Dick is having so much, is being haunted by these ghosts and they're messing with him so bad that it's hard for him to concentrate because he's trying to locate. They're trying to locate the kids, and Rose ends up getting him some hash or some weed or something, and or something. She either sniffed it or he's drunk. I can't remember, but he went into this high phase, and they end up pinpointing the location of the dagger, which Ronnie, Lily, and Marge have. And they're on their way to see Pennywise. So they find out what a dagger is. All of our characters are starting to come together. And it's actually a pretty cool moment because Rose tells them that whoever has this dagger shard, the longer they have it, the more it's actually corrupting them. And we get to see that moment because Lily does not want to get rid of this dagger. Now, initially, I thought she was carrying it because, okay, she saw that it was protecting it from Pennywise. Pennywise wouldn't want to mess with her. But upon, this revelation, you can say, okay, maybe she's becoming possessive of it. Kind of like, Gollum with the one ring in Lord of the Rings. And she kind of acts it out. There's a moment where she has it out with Marge and with Ronnie over. They kind of have a fight, and they have to agree that they can't. One person can't just hold on to it. They have to switch it to keep it from completely influencing. Which Lily has had it for quite some time, actually. So that was actually pretty cool. Uh, it was actually pretty cool. So Taniel, Leroy's wife, Dick, they're all heading to go save the kids. Now, the scene that we see with Pennywise, it was kind of goofy. It's a scene where he's on this those medicine wagons that they used to have back in the day, or the little clown wagons they used to have back in the day. Whereas Pennywise is riding on it, blowing his tuba, and I was like, I mean, I get it, but that moment was a little goofy for me. I'm like, this guy is supposed to be this terrifying killer. And yeah, we see him kill and just don't care about, you know what I'm saying? He gets some kills in this show. But, that was kind of goofy, I guess. I was like, I don't know. I like the scene of it because you see him riding down, blowing his tuba, and then behind him, all of the kids are floating. And it's kind of cool because it's when they float, and it's you actually see them floating behind the little wagon thing. So that was actually pretty cool. And they end up going over this lake because when the military end up finding one of the shards that was a part of this prison, it opened up an opening within the prison. So Pennywise is heading there, and it's across this lake, which is froze. So they're going there. Lily, Ronnie, and Marge managed to catch up. And this is another one of those moments I wish it was a little bit. Now this moment I will say was I wish it was a little better. Pennywise confronts them. They have the shard, and then because of the fog and stuff, he kind of disappears into the fog, and he's doing this weird running Naruto run thing in the fog. And I'm like, I wish they could have did something better with that. Maybe have him in the fog or something like that. Or just messing with them, basically. And he's doing it, but I think it comes off a little goofy, the way it's shot. And I would have liked to see more of him, actually playing with them, showing the girl her dead mom, showing Lily, her dead dad, doing things like that to kind of mess with them, showing dead Richie or something to actually do that. But he ends up snatching Marge, pulling her into the fog, and they have a slight conversation. And at this point, I was kind of confused, but I thought it was kind of cool at the same time. No, I felt like it was more lore breaking, actually. What happens is Pennywise is getting ready to kill her, and he ends up admitting that, hey, Marge's son is going to be responsible for killing him in the future. And he found out Marge is the son of Richie, or Richie, and I like, I never really thought of that. So I was like, okay, cool. But I was like, I kind of wish he hadn't told her that, because it opens up this kind of thing of, well, if he told her that, then she knows, so she knows to prepare for him. And the fact that we, not only way that we can like really think about this, okay, if she knows that he's there, wouldn't she leave when she's older? You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't she leave because she don't want her kid to deal with that? Or would she stay there knowing that the only way he would die would be because of her kid? So it kind of opened up that kind of thing. Or it's like, okay, well, after the events of the show, does she forget about? Does she forget about him? Because I've always had this weird thing with Derry and Pennywise. It's like, do the people know he exists? I know that to a certain extent, a lot of like the adult characters overlook like the kids. So when kids come up dying or missing or something, you don't get that visceral reaction from like people that you probably should. But I was on the fence about that. I was a little on the fence about that. I wish he would have. If he would, I wish he would have said something that alluded to her being the dad, Richie's mom, without actually saying about the future son part. So that way we would know. Like, say, she says, "Hey, he says Richie or something." But we're thinking it's the Richie that's in the show, but not the Richie that's in the movie. So something like that to kind of, a little Easter egg for the people that actually seen the movies or read the books or something like that. But anyways, he goes to attack her, and at this point, uh, Dick, Leroy, and them, they've managed to track him now. And as soon as he goes to kill Marge, he ends up being frozen by Dick, who's in his head and is manipulating events. And this was kind of an interesting thing because on one hand it's a pretty cool scene because then he's in his head and he's making Pennywise in the dream. He makes Pennywise think he's actually Bob Gray, so he's human in his head all of the characters that are in the dream and everything, they treat him like he's a person and not Pennywise. But then eventually Pennywise does wise up to this. And the only thing I had an issue with that is it's like, well, can he do that with Pennywise? Because Pennywise is a cosmic being. And I don't think you can get in the head of a cosmic being like that. I mean, Dick is pretty powerful with the shine, but I don't think he's that powerful. But I was like, okay, I'll let it slide. And maybe because of how long it was like, I don't think you could catch him up like that. I mean, yeah, if you think about it, he did like catch him up because he was in the middle of killing somebody or trying to kill somebody. And I will say this, even the way Pennywise looks when he's attacking, I wish they kind of did a little bit better. Maybe it was just the way the CGI kind of comes off, or just the design itself. It just looks kind of weird. I mean, it looks threatening as hell, but it looks weird. But at this point now, all of the kids, they snap back. They're good to go. The kids run towards the shore, going back where they came. But then, the adults are like, okay, kids, this is what we need to do. We need to go take this shard dagger thing, because at this point, Marge meets back up with them. Marge, they all like, okay, we got to go to this specific tree that's like the point that they need to bury the shard in, the dagger in. But then the dumbass military shows up, so while the adults try to deal with the military, the kids are trying to make their way to the tree. And it was a brief fight. There's a brief fight and everything. Leroy gets shot. Taniel gets shot. Taniel dies. Taniel's Rose's nephew. Not really. I like Rose a hell of a lot more than Taniel. I think she's much more engaged. I get the emotional attachment to him and everything. But I don't think he made much of impression in the show. But, so the military ends up getting, Leroy, the adults. And then the Shaw ends up seeing Pennywise, who's kind of like frozen because of Dick. And because of what's going on with the military, and his concentration wanes. Pennywise finds out, hey, this is just a BS dream trap. He awakens. Shaw is right there. Shaw tells him, hey, go ahead, go do your thing, buddy. Then Pennywise is like, okay. But then he turns around, he's like, hey, you smell familiar. And then he remembers that this is the young boy that Rose saved in the forest decades prior. And there was like the skeleton man or whatever it was that was chasing him, so he makes the face of the skeleton man. Shaw gets afraid. Pennywise eats his face off. Really, they showed the initial attack, but never the follow through. I hate sometimes with when shows do that. It's kind of the problem I have with like the Friday the 13th, where you see somebody get stabbed and then it's like a cut, and it's like, no, I want to see him. Like, does he try to fight? Does he try to struggle? Like, show me, like, when he told the guy face out, was he like, did he do that? I want to see it. But Shaw gets killed. He got his comeuppance. So the kids are trying to make it to the tree. The adults actually end up overcoming the soldiers. Pennywise goes after the kids. It's kind of funny because he's kind of joking about it. He's like doing his weird run. So he's running, and then the next thing you know, what happened? Yeah, he's running. So next thing you know, Leroy, the kids are trying to get to the tree. The tree is pushing back. Like there's a force from the tree or something that's pushing back. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's the field of the of this cage kind of condensed there because there's nothing there pushing the shard back. I don't know. All I know is the kids were having an issue getting to the tree because it was pushing them back. Well, while Pennywise is trying to get to them, Leroy ends up shooting Pennywise, and he's holding them down. He's shooting them and shooting them to get the kids time. And next thing you know, I gotta tell the truth, I cried. I was crying at this scene. Next thing you know, Dick looks up, sees the Indian lady, not Rose, but her ancestor, the Rose's mother, or no, it wasn't Rose. The initial chief lady that died trying to find her daughter, who went to go get the dagger, another dagger, but she got killed by that sequence where we see Pennywise as like this giant moose, and then this weird preacher guy. That lady, because that's the same lady that came to Dick in the bar that got on fire, and she helped save them. So next thing you know, Richie's there. Richie's there. His ghost. You see him running, and he goes to go help the friends, the Lily, Will, and all of them. He helps them push the shard to the tree. The tree's still pushing back, and he helps them push the shard. And you got Leroy putting shots upon shots on Pennywise, popping them in the head, shooting them and stuff. But then Pennywise sees that the kids are getting closer and closer and closer. He turns into this like bat form, gets his big wings and stuff. It looks really cool. I really wish they could have used that form like earlier on in like another sequence or something. It looks really cool. I wish they could have used that and kind of did like a Jeepers Creepers thing with where like there's a kid or something running, he just comes by Jeepers Creepers just whoosh, like that. But next soon as Pennywise gets to them, then everybody manages to push the shard into the ground, and then it blasts everybody back, and Pennywise gets knocked back. But then Pennywise is starting to, dematerialize, I guess you could say, disintegrate. And right before he said he goes, because he's going back to sleep now, he's being forced back to sleep, and he says the line that Bob Gray said. Like the kids are lively, or something like that. He said the kids are lively, because that's what happened when Bob Gray said it when the kids ran up on the stage and was wilding out. So and then so Pennywise ends up flying back to his sleep spot, and he's gone for 27 years. So the bear is restored. Pennywise deforms into the deadlights, returns into hibernation. It was a good that was a good scene. I like the music. I like the shot. I like the finality of it. Despite some of the issues I had was getting to this point in this episode, because there was a lot of cool stuff, but there was a lot of, it kind of opened up a lot of questions. That sequence, the Richie coming back, helping his friends. I did not like him initially, but I love the character. He definitely it was like it had me. It was emotional. Man, I ain't gonna lie. I was crying. I got tears in my eyes and everything. I was like, God, dog, I'm crying. What am I crying for? But it was a good scene. So, you know, later on, the military pulls out of Derry. They're having Rich's funeral. Marge is there, and it was kind of cool seeing how she developed. And then we get a scene with Dick, looking at Rich's parents and seeing Rich there. His ghost is with his parents, and Dick acknowledges that everything's gonna be good and he's still with them and all that. I thought that was actually really, really cool. So at this point, Lily goes to go see her father's grave because she hadn't because of what happened. She blamed herself. But there's an interesting conversation between Marge and Lily, and this is what kind of led me to the train of thought of Pennywise revealing about her son in the future. And she says that that Pennywise sees time differently, and that he has a omnipresent nature, and that he can go back in time and potentially kill their ancestors to stop himself from dying in the future. And that's why he was trying to kill him in the first place. I don't buy that, because I'm like, no, because if he wanted to kill them, if that was the case, he would have just killed them, because he'd been killing kids the entire time. If that was the case, he could have killed their parents. If he knew specifically that Marge's kid was going to kill him, he could have just killed Marge any point in the show, because she didn't know anything about what was going on. He could have got her at any point before that, but he didn't. So that line I thought was like should not have been. That's why I said I didn't like the fact that he admitted it, because now it kind of opens up this thing where potentially there's a sequel, and he goes back further to prevent his death. It's like no. That's dumb. I don't. If you're gonna do it, don't do it like that. There's plenty of ways you can play a sequel to it, because the prequel, for the most part, works. For it to be a sequel season and stuff, you don't have to do it like that, because then, again, you open up this Pandora's box. What if he loses that time? What if he loses the time before that? You know what I'm saying? If he does kill these people, does it create an alternate timeline? We don't need none of that crap. Just tell the story of already established stuff. So, but I guess I think it could be something, but I don't want it to go that way, because it's just going to go left. So at this point, Dick is talking. Leroy has been honorably discharged as long as he don't say anything. He goes to see Dick. Dick is heading out. He's going to the hotel, which is setting up as a prequel to The Shining, and I thought that was pretty cool. I say Dick Halloran. Dick Halloran. His name. That's what his name was. But anyway, so that's like, okay, setting up The Shining. So that's actually pretty cool. So now Will and Ronnie, they're about to go their separate ways because their families are both going to leave Derry. There is a good moment. I would have liked their characters to actually have been together, grew up together, and got together, because I thought they would be the eventual parents of the black kid from it. But I think his parents moved there, so that wouldn't work out anyway. But you would think that those I don't do the shipping thing, but I actually like their character, their chemistry and stuff. Kind of like I like Rich and Marge's as well. But I thought them two particularly strong, especially since Ronnie had that conversation and Will had the conversation with Ronnie's father. I thought that was actually pretty cool. So, they have a kiss, they have a good moment. They say they're going to try not to forget each other. And I sincerely hope they don't. Although, what happens is Ronnie ends up leaving. Rose ends up inviting Leroy and the family to stay. And at first they don't. They say they're not going to do it, but they do decide to stay. Another thing. I'm like, I wish they just would have left. So again, I hope that's not like a sequel bait thing, but I hope they would have left. I truly wish they would have just left. Because if I see some stuff like that, I'm like, no. And they did it because they're like, okay, to watch, because the Native American people that stay there are watching Pennywise. That they know them, so they're wary of them. They know about them. They're preparing for them. And now Leroy's decided that him and his family are going to kind of join them on this effort. And I'm like, I wish I would have left. But at this point, what happens? To prevent anybody else from trying to exploit Pennywise, and that was actually a pretty good scene, even though I didn't like that. So, yeah, happy ending, as a famous YouTuber says. But I will say this: they do this really cool thing that ties it to the movies. And what happens is Ingrid is in the crazy place, Juniper Hill. She's at this point she's the old lady from It Chapter 2, and she hears crying. You find out that this one of the other people at the place end up committing suicide, and you find out the little girl there that's crying is Beverly, who is one of the main protagonists in It Chapter 2. Therefore, legitimizing the timeline, the continuity, or whatever you want to say. So, gotta say, episode 8 pulled at the heartstrings. There's been a few TV shows where, the end of the season, you go with characters, you start to, like the characters, you learn about them, you see them grow, you see them go through all these adventures and things, and then at the end of the season, you're like, God, I felt the same way when I watched Once Upon a Time. The finale had me, a little choked up when I was watching Being Human, the UK version and the US version. Charmed. Like, there's a lot of shows that I follow, and then you get to the final episode, you like, we went through this journey together, people. So I actually liked this episode. I thought it was good. There was some errors, I think there was, with the writing, because trying to build a little bit too much, but it opens up because it opened it too many different. The whole, okay, Pennywise is omniscient, so he might try to go into the past to try to kill people that leads to his eventual death, and I'm like, don't like that because it opens up too much. I don't buy the fact that Halloran was able to trick Pennywise for as long as he did. It's a little goofy with the tuba thing. I wish Pennywise would just wild out and started just killing people since the fog is there. I wish he just wouldn't start laying waste to people. That would have been cool. But then I guess if he did that, then it would have kind of broken the continuity with the film, because if a bunch of people just come massacred in the streets or something, that would have been in the movie. So I guess not. I guess so. But anyways, I thought this was good. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a fun episode, a great finale. Wish they could have did a little bit more. Just some choice here and there. I thought it could have been a little bit better. But hey, I definitely got to say that episode 8 deserves 4 out of 5. It's a great ending. I really appreciated it. We finally made it to it. Welcome to Derry, the last episode. So, guys, in the comment section below, let me know, what are your thoughts? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What was your favorite moment in this episode? And did you agree with any of my points? And did you even like this episode as a finale? Be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and the notification button to get the best of what we got going on this channel. And we'll definitely catch you guys later.